Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Luna shares the upsetting Steffy plan and Remy's worrying news. When Luna Nozawa disclosed a torturous scheme for Steffy Forrester, Remy Price received some troubling news. On Friday's B&B episode, Steffy and John Finnegan played checkers with Hayes Finnegan at home to spend some quality time with their family. Hayes leaped into Finn's arms and declared his love for his father after Finn and Steffy spoke some kind words to their son. Steffy was reassured in private by Finn that they would all be protected from Luna. Steffy didn't hold Finn responsible for any of the drama he had introduced into her life through Luna and Sheila Sharp, despite his feelings of guilt. When Steffy looked at Finn, she only saw the adorable young child they had created together, and she adored the bond he had developed with Kelly Spencer as well. Steffy was determined not to let anything separate her from Finn and their devoted family. Luna, however, was still upset in her apartment after viewing pictures of the Finnegan family, including one of Hayes, on her phone. Remy stated he wanted to make sure Luna was staying out of trouble when he arrived. Luna launched into another outburst, accusing Steffy of being the reason behind the failure of her most recent Cliff home visit to Finn. Luna's continued belief that Steffy was obstructing her relationship with Finn was evident. Luna maintained that if Steffy could relate to the suffering of a kid who is separated from a parent, she would respond to the situation differently. Luna promised to hold Steffy accountable for her actions and alluded to a plan, despite her assumption that Steffy believed she was in charge. Ridge Forrester and Taylor Hayes recapped all of the Luna drama during their romantic time together at the Forrester house. Additionally, Taylor expressed her gratitude for Ridge and the fact that Brooke was no longer a problem. Brooke was also thinking about Ridge at work because Hope Logan discovered her mother working through the night. Hope realized that Brooke was staying late at work because she didn't want to go home, where everything seemed empty. Brooke admitted that she felt lonely because Hope and Beth Spencer had been spending more time at Carter Walton's loft. Even though Ridge and Taylor were sharing the Forrester estate, Brooke saw that as a passing phase and once more exaggerated Ridge's role as her fate. Remy Price had barely closed the door behind him when he felt the tension in Luna Nozawa's apartment thick enough to cut with a knife. The moment he stepped in, he saw the storm brewing in Luna's eyes, a fiery cocktail of resentment, heartbreak, and determination that had taken root ever since her last failed visit to the Cliff house, where she had once again tried, and failed, to convince John Finnegan to see her as something more than the storm on the edge of his family's horizon, and this time, it was clear to Remy that Luna wasn't just upset, she was transforming that pain into something far more dangerous, something with teeth, a plan with consequences, and as he cautiously sat down on the edge of her worn suede couch, he noticed that her phone screen was still lit up with a slideshow of Finnegan family photos, an unrelenting cycle of happy, smiling moments, frozen in time, playing like a looped curse, Steffy, Finn, Hayes, even Kelly, all beaming in the warmth of a life Luna believed should have been hers, and with every frame her fingers tightened around the edges of the phone until Remy gently pulled it away, trying to break the spell before it became something irreversible. But Luna's voice sliced through the air like broken glass as she launched into a tirade against Steffy Forrester, the woman she believed was the true architect of her suffering, the puppet master pulling all the strings to keep Finn away, to cast Luna out as an outsider, a danger, a mistake, and while Remy tried to reason with her, to remind her that Finn had made his choice and that dragging this out was only hurting her more, Luna's eyes darkened with something colder, a resolve that frightened even Remy. For she had already begun weaving a narrative in her head, one where Steffy wasn't just a rival but a thief of love, a destroyer of families, and when Luna spoke next, her words carried an eerie calm as she explained that Steffy only saw the world in absolutes, as if her version of family was the only one that mattered, the only one deserving of peace, and if Steffy truly understood the pain of being cut off from someone you love, of being labeled a threat when all you want is to connect, maybe, just maybe, she would start to question the choices she made so easily, like exiling Luna from Finn's life without ever truly giving her a chance to explain her side, and so, Luna vowed, it was time to shift the balance, time to bring Steffy face to face with the kind of anguish she so casually inflicted on others, and when Remy asked her what exactly she meant by that, Luna smiled, a soft, sinister curve of her lips that made his stomach twist. as she said that sometimes, the only way to teach someone compassion is through experience, and Remy realized, to his horror, that Luna wasn't just talking about words or confrontations, she was talking about a plan. An actual strategy to hurt Steffy, emotionally, perhaps psychologically, a painful wake-up call dressed in poetic justice, and while Remy tried again to talk her down, reminding her that this wasn't who she was, that hurting Steffy wouldn't bring Finn closer but would only cement the walls between them forever, Luna simply turned away, staring again at the smiling image of Hayes and whispering that the child deserved to know the truth too, deserved to see that not everyone who loves his father is an enemy, and that maybe, if Steffy were forced to experience that same brand of exclusion, she'd finally understand the bitter sting of being shut out without a trial, and Remy, now officially alarmed, knew he needed to tell someone, maybe even warn Steffy herself, but who would believe him, and worse, how could he betray Luna, someone he had cared for deeply, someone who was clearly unraveling but still carried the remnants of the bright, kind woman he once knew, and yet even as he wrestled with that decision, across town, inside the warm walls of the Cliff House, Steffy and Finn were sharing a rare moment of serenity, a slice of familial bliss untouched by the drama swirling around them, as they played checkers with their son Hayes, who giggled and shouted his love for his daddy as Finn scooped him into his arms, spinning him gently while Steffy looked on, her heart full at the sight of the man she loved so effortlessly connecting with the child they created, and later, when Hayes had wandered off to his room, Finn wrapped his arms around Steffy and murmured reassurances that no matter what happened with Luna or even Sheila Sharp, he was committed to keeping their family safe, to making sure nothing could come between them, and Steffy, ever the steel backbone of the Forrester clan, told him she didn't blame him for the chaos that Luna had introduced, that she understood how complicated it was, but her loyalty to their marriage, their family, was ironclad, and all she saw when she looked at him was the man who gave her Hayes, the man who took Kelly under his wing as if she were his own, the man who never flinched when life got messy, and she declared, with fierce certainty, that nothing and no one, not Luna, not even Sheila, would ever take her away from him, and as they embraced, unaware of the storm Luna was preparing to unleash, the camera cut to the Forrester mansion, where Ridge and Taylor, enjoying a peaceful evening together, shared wine and laughter and some much-needed romantic closure, the air around them light and nostalgic as Taylor expressed gratitude that Brooke was no longer in the picture to complicate things, but little did they know that Brooke, burning the midnight oil at the office, was nursing her own unresolved feelings, and when Hope Logan popped in to find her mother still hunched over fashion mock-ups and logistics spreadsheets, it didn't take long to figure out that Brooke was using work as an emotional shield, a way to avoid going home to an empty house that no longer felt like a home, especially now that Hope and Beth were spending more time with Carter Walton at his place, and though Brooke tried to downplay it, there was a crack in her voice when she admitted that Ridge living with Taylor didn't feel permanent, that in her heart she still believed he would return to her one day because, as she said with quiet conviction, he was her destiny, and the ache in her eyes mirrored the ache in Luna's, though their stories were very different, because while Brooke was quietly hoping for fate to intervene, Luna was planning to seize fate by the throat and drag it into submission, and as night fell across Los Angeles, casting long shadows over the city, Remy stood outside Luna's apartment building, staring up at the window where the light still glowed, his phone heavy in his hand as he debated making the call that could alter everything, because deep down he knew that whatever Luna was planning next, it wouldn't just change Steffy's life, it might destroy it. Brooke pines for her fate after Remy finds out that Luna has a plan to make Steffy pay. Steffy and Finn play checkers with Hayes at the Cliff House. Kelly is out with Elektra, they say. Finn promises Steffy he will check all the windows and doors as they get ready for bed. He tells her that they won't have any issues with Luna. After giving Hayes a quick glance, they both express their pride in him. As Hayes gives Finn a hug, Steffy displays emotion. They worry that nothing will happen to him after sending him to clean his teeth. They must keep Luna away from him. Checking in on Luna. Luna paces her room while recalling Steffy informing her that Finn is not interested in dating her. We'll see about that, Steffy, she says with a chuckle. Remy knocks and yells while Luna is browsing through pictures of Finn and Hayes on her phone. He's coming in. He wants to make sure she doesn't get into any problems. She gripes to Remy about her inability to visit her relatives. She describes entering and claims Steffy cut her off once more. Luna claims that Finn told her to stay hidden rather than go. It wasn't until Steffy got home that he threw her out. She's certain that if she understood the agony of a child being separated from their parent, she would behave differently. Luna and Remy discuss Poppy's failure to disclose her pregnancy to Finn when he was young and ready to leave for college. Luna berates her friend, as if she still needs him, saying that Finn would have supported him in her time of need. Her dad definitely wants to get in touch with you. But you can't be with him because of Steffy, adds Remy. His bitch of a wife, Luna grinds her teeth. Taylor discloses. At the Forrester mansion, Ridge and Taylor play canoodle. She is incredibly appreciative of his courage and assistance in getting Steffy through this terrible time. They discuss attempting to reincarcerate Luna. Ridge finds it hard to comprehend her pardon. Her day of reckoning is coming, he promises. They canoodle and kiss. How much her love has altered is beyond Taylor's comprehension. When she was abroad, she refused to allow herself to think of this. Brooke was always a hindrance. She has him to herself now. Pines, Brooke. Brooke imagines herself on stage with Ridge at the fashion show while she sits behind the main desk at Forrester. Hope shows up and expresses surprise at her continued presence. Brooke has not yet left for home. Why are you staying so late, says Hope. Then she understands, Ridge. Brooke is adamant that she won't be waiting for Ridge. He departed a few hours ago. Hope feels that she is unwilling to return home. Hope and Beth have been hanging out at Carter's, according to Brooke. She feels isolated. Because Ridge isn't there, Hope explains. Hope expresses her concern as they sit. Brooke is certain that this will pass. Ridge and she are a good match. She and he both secretly hold that belief. Ridge and Taylor share a residence, as Hope notes. Does she think about this all the time? Of course, answers Brooke. She is haunted by it. It bothers Hope to see her in a state of uncertainty. Brooke is steadfast in her beliefs. There has always been one of them. She will never be able to forgive herself if she gives up now. I do think my destiny lies with Ridge. She believes in that word, even though she is aware that many laugh at it. She thinks she owns Ridge. After all they've shared, how could she not? She remembers the good old days. She senses that they are still connected. He'll get back to her eventually. We shall be reunited by destiny. Hope gives her a hug. Finn's devotion to family. Finn returns to Steffy at the Cliff House after putting Hayes to bed. Although they are happy that Kelly is hanging out with Elektra, they nonetheless miss her. When Luna locked her in the cage, Steffy remembers how it felt to not know if she would ever be able to hold them again. She is aware that telling Luna to leave them alone was difficult for Finn, but he made it plain to her that she could not be a part of his family or his life. They sprawl out on the couch and talk endlessly about protecting their family and children. Finn remembers how Steffy once trusted him. For him, nothing is more significant than her and their family. If Steffy is scared, Finn wants her to tell him. When Steffy looks at him, she sees Hayes instead of Sheila or Luna. Together, they produced the handsome boy. She observes the unique connection he made with Kelly. I will never be separated from you because I love you. In the quiet lull that followed another fraught evening at the Cliff House, Steffy sat curled on the sofa next to Finn, her hand resting protectively over his, both of them staring into the flickering fire as though it held the answers to the storm gathering around them. The weight of what had transpired, the betrayal, the confrontation, the fear, pressed heavy on both their hearts. Finn's expression was etched with a conflict that refused to fade. Even as he murmured soft reassurances, his mind betrayed him, haunted by Luna's desperate eyes and the storm of guilt brewing inside him. Meanwhile, Steffy, always composed, always poised, was fighting a very different battle, not with Luna directly, but with the raw panic that she might lose everything she'd fought to protect, her family, her peace, her life rebuilt after so many years of heartbreak. That panic flared brighter with every mention of Luna, with every reminder of Finn's past entanglements, And most of all with every instinct telling her Luna wasn't done, not by a long shot. Upstairs, Hayes stirred in his sleep, unaware of the tense dance of secrets and suspicions just one floor beneath him, but to his parents, every breath he took was a reminder of why they had to hold the line, why Luna could never cross the threshold again. Yet miles away in her dimly lit apartment, Luna had no such qualms. With Remy by her side and bitterness clenching her jaw, she laid out her plan, not in grand, villainous declarations, but in soft, intimate monologues to herself, to the silence, to the images of Finn and Hayes on her phone that she caressed as though touching a life she believed was rightfully hers. She wasn't just fighting for acknowledgement, she was waging war for belonging. And Remy, caught in the crossfire of loyalty and fear, listened as Luna recited every slight, every cold glance from Steffy, every unspoken promise she saw in Finn's hesitant eyes. She detailed her anguish not as a manipulative ploy but as a truth she had convinced herself to believe, that the world, and especially Steffy, had robbed her of what should have been a rightful place at Finn's side. And as she spoke of her mother, Poppy, and the choices made in secrecy long before her birth, it became clearer, Luna's vendetta wasn't just against Steffy. It was against a lineage of women who had silenced her, excluded her, shamed her into the margins of a story she believed she belonged at the center of. He would have chosen me, she whispered bitterly. He would have, if she hadn't poisoned him against me. Remy, uncertain and frightened, urged caution, but Luna's resolve had crystallized. Her eyes gleamed with an unsettling clarity. She didn't want to take Finn from Steffy out of jealousy, she wanted to correct what she saw as a cosmic mistake. Meanwhile, the Forrester mansion hummed with its own brand of tension. Ridge and Taylor, locked in an embrace of rekindled affection, were the picture of calm, but their words painted another reality entirely. Taylor, deeply protective of Steffy and burning with maternal rage, spoke with an urgency Ridge hadn't heard from her in years. She wanted justice. She wanted Luna punished. The cage, the terror, the risk to Hayes, none of it could go unanswered. Ridge, long a man who flitted between passion and loyalty, now stood firmly with Taylor, driven by a primal need to protect his family. Still, he struggled with the strange unease that Luna's presence evoked, not just fear, but confusion, a gnawing sense that something had been set in motion that none of them could quite control. And in the background, in a different sort of prison, Brooke sat alone at Forrester Creations, wrapped in memories that both warmed and wounded her. She held on to her belief in destiny like a lifeline, certain that Ridge would come back to her, that the tides of passion and time would turn in her favor as they always had before. Hope, ever observant, saw the danger in her mother's stasis, in the way she lingered in the past, willing it to return. "You can't wait forever," she said softly, not as a daughter scolding but as a woman who had tasted the sting of one-sided love. Brooke, resolute, replied not with defiance but with conviction. "I don't believe in giving up, not when it's real. Ridge and we've always found our way back. We will again." And as she clutched a photo of the two of them at one of their many weddings, the line between faith and delusion blurred. Back at the Cliff House, the fire dwindled and shadows grew longer. Steffy lay awake, listening to Finn's even breathing, the rhythmic hum of a home pretending to be at peace. But her thoughts raced. She couldn't forget the panic of being locked away, the feeling of powerlessness, the terrifying realization that someone she once tried to help, someone they'd let into their lives, had turned on them with such precision. She didn't just fear Luna. She feared what Luna represented, unfinished business, dangerous longing, and most of all, a part of Finn's past he had never fully confronted. When morning came, it brought with it a calm, deceptive and fleeting. Finn rose early, made pancakes with Hayes, and tried to ignore the nagging sense of incompletion that trailed him like a ghost. Steffy watched him with loving but wary eyes, and they exchanged brief kisses and tighter-than-usual hugs, as though silently bracing for the next storm. Meanwhile, Luna wasn't wasting time. She had begun reaching out, subtly and strategically. Not to Finn, she knew better, but to people on the periphery, Electra, who had no idea of the full story, Carter, who still felt conflicted over how harshly Luna had been treated, and even Zend, who had once seen something in her that bordered on empathy. Luna's words were always carefully chosen, laced with grief and hints of redemption, but beneath them lay her real motive: to isolate Steffy, to destabilize her, to remind everyone that she, Luna, was not just some unstable outsider, but a woman with roots, feelings, and maybe, just maybe, a rightful claim to something more. And then there was Remy, slowly being drawn deeper into Luna's plan, despite himself. He tried to reason with her, to temper her obsession, but her charisma, her pain, and her unwavering belief that she was justified, it all made it harder to say no. "You don't understand," she told him one night, eyes shining. "She's taken everything from me, my father, my family, my identity. But I'm going to make her feel what I felt. I'm going to take everything from her too." At that moment, the line between victim and villain, heartbroken daughter and dangerous schemer, blurred completely. And across town, in the glittering Forrester offices, Brooke brushed a hand across a rack of gowns, lost in thought. Hope entered and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You're thinking about him again." Brooke didn't deny it. She turned, eyes misty, and smiled wistfully. "I always am." Hope, ever practical, urged her to look forward, but Brooke could only see the past. "Ridge is my past, and my future. You'll see." And as the day unfolded, players moved quietly across the board. Ridge deepened his bond with Taylor but hesitated when her words turned to vengeance. Taylor plotted Luna's legal takedown with increasing fervor. Luna deepened her emotional trap, readying herself for the strike. And Steffy and Finn, the supposed center of calm, clung desperately to each other, even as cracks began to show. By evening, a new development surfaced. Luna had contacted someone close to Sheila, someone who had no love for Steffy and who owed Luna a favor. Remy found out and confronted her, but Luna only smiled. "I told you," she said sweetly. "I have a plan." And that plan, with all its twists and betrayals, had only just begun.